what's the political economy of poppy cultivation in Manipur? You are both an insider and outsider. Bataiye.
Yes, I mean, the political economy is that the funding, the source of funding. Look at the source of funding. Source of funding is from the valley. That's very, very important. If the source of funding is not from the valley, poppy cultivation would not have happened in Manipur. Let's take it at the face value. The second question is ancestral tribal land are converted into reserve forest. And from the protected areas, Kuki people have been evicted as well in Churachandpur district. Now, you see, that is also part of the political economy. Why a certain ancestral land is now turned into a reserve forest? I mean, that there is a definite intention behind it. Of course, prima facie, the intention is to protect the forest. But if that forest is part of the ancestral land, as land of the Kuki Jo community, and then that is turned into a reserve forest, by making a kind of a counterclaim on it as sacred land of another community. This is like creating a conflict centering the very status of the forest. Once such a conflict is sparked off, it is possible to identify a community in the name of being a poppy cultivator without taking into account the large chain of political economy, starting from funding to import of poppy seeds, to involvement of certain labor corp, and again earning of wages and dividends from the poppy cultivation, or turning the cultivated poppy into drugs or something else and again supplying it back to the golden triangle. This entire thing has to be taken into totality. Political economy marks that totality. And in that totality, if we look at the totality, as it is always said, so many people will be found inside it. I don't want to name anyone. Suffice it to say that Brinda Thonujam's interview is before us, because she, being the investigator, she has looked into the matter, and her testimony has to be taken as the most authentic testimony about the political economy of drug supply and poppy cultivation as well, and involvement of certain sections of people into it. So therefore, we can't identify poppy cultivation to a hill just because it happens in the hill. We have to look at the real actors behind poppy cultivation, the motivation for poppy cultivation, and who is gaining out of it. That point has to be very, very clear.
Okay.
It's not the poppy cultivators, but a certain community has been victimized by the side of it. And that is what is another context. The context has to be taken into account that a lot of people of a certain community are victimized. And through that victimization, what is happening is that there is a cry for justice, and basic justice is not ensured. So that is also part of the larger political economy of poppy cultivation. You cannot separate this matter because it has arisen as something emergent at this point of time.
Colonel Sapam, you wanted to come in? You raised your hand, Chief?
Yes, I want to come in over here. There are 2-3 points which Professor Biswas has mentioned. Firstly, let me come to the first one, that cultivation in the hills. Cultivation of rice in the hill, it is very bad because the rice, as all the farmers will know, because stagnant water is required at the foot of the rice plant, paddy, basically at the foot, because stagnant water chahiye, lot of water is required. Now, secondly, I do agree that a lot of money is involved as far politically, as far as plantation of poppy is concerned. But wherever Professor Biswas had made a remark saying that the finance has come from the valley, I don't agree with this, because let me tell you one thing: the valley people also must be involved in this, and those people who are in the hills, and I would not say it is porous border. It is not porous. It is open border. When you say porous is something like when you have fence and there are some cuttings over there, that is called porous. In our case, from Mizoram to Nagaland, it is not porous. It is open border, just guarded at pockets, but it is not porous. So having this kind of thing, and a lot of turmoil happening in Burma, militants and various things happening in that country, and they also require a lot of funds. And a lot of experts have spoken about Chinese involvement in this, particular plantations and all those things. This all cannot be ruled out. So when I say the valley people, the funding has been done from the valley, I would prefer from this. I would not like to mention this because this is again a small, some sort of oil in the fire again. Now, ancestral land. Let me tell you one thing.
Okay.
Then I will have to go to history again, which I do not want to go.
No, you can make your point. It's okay. We are not fighting with
yes,
you.
yes,
Make your
okay.
point. Make your point. Make your point.
I have to make the point. Let me tell you one thing. As I said, 2000 BC, Manipur civilization started at at the foothill of two peaks. That is Kobru, and there is another one called Nomaiching. And thereafter, Imphal the valley was absolutely water. And it dried up, and then Kangla and all these things came up. Then the valley people started coming down from the hills, and they stayed in the valley basically. Now, and those days, the Nagas, the Tangkuls, and then the Kabu used to be there. And you all know, and we all know, as per the history and military history and all these things, the British, as per the British, story and all those things, books written, these are all documented. Basically, the Kuki brothers, they came sometimes around 1830, 1845, and all those things. Okay, fine, they are all staying there. But all these places, the Nagas were there basically initially. They were there. Nagas were there, and then that time very thinly populated. And it will be wrong to say. It will be wrong to say that all this land belongs to the Kukis. No, it is not so. And by saying this, again, I am putting oil on the fire, which I do not like it. Basically, I do not like this kind of conversation. But then when something of that kind, which is not true, comes out in front of me, then I also have to answer it. Basically, no, the whole Manipur belongs to India, and if there is any environmental changes, there is a cutting of forests, and as per the forest rule, if I plant one big tree in my house, in my own campus, and for cutting that tree, I have to take permission from the forest. This is the rule of the country, as per the constitution. So not if it is my place also, not on the area, I myself cannot cut the tree. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a fact, and this is the rule. Please, let's all understand about the forest rule.
Sahab, I think what you are saying that it boils down to Prasenjit ji. Whose land is this anyway? Isn't it? Whose land is this anyway? Prasenjit.
When we discuss, 1 minute, please.
Yes, please, Sapamji. Yes, please, carry on.
When we discuss whose land is this anyway, then it is very dangerous again. Please let us not discuss
it is India's land. You ask me, it's an Indian land.
Yes, absolutely, it is India's land.
It's Union of India's land.
One more thing.
It doesn't belong to any community. It's Union of India's land.
One thing, let me tell you one more thing. One more thing, let me tell you. My house, my campus, I stay in this thing here. My land is there. If the government feels that this road has to be, extended and it has to be made widened, they will take the land. The government is the, the supreme in in any country that for that matter.
No.
But one thing is there. In this situation, in Manipur situation, it is better not to talk whose land is this, whose land is that. Please, because that if we keep on talking like this from this topic, then I don't want another, 3 communities are here in Manipur. Mainly, three communities are there. So it is very sensitive to talk about this is my land, this is my land. And let me tell you one thing. Let me submit one thing. The Maitais, if given the choice to stay in the hills also, I don't think they'll go and stay. I don't think they'll go and settle down in the hills because they are not used to it. This is one thing which I would like to submit.
Okay.
But let us not talk about whose land is this, whose land is that.